I'm your number one fan.
Now clear your minds. Know's what scares you. It has from the very beginning.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
It's been informed that zombies have entered the building. They're at the door. They're coming in.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I'm your host as always, Corey, and alongside me is my good pal, Tony. What's going on, Tony?
Not much, dude. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. It's been a really busy week so far for me.
Same here,
Constantly running. The weekend was crazy, but a lot of rain too.
Yeah, well, that could damper on plans that you have when it's like pouring rain where we are. I mean, it's pouring.
Yeah.
Last couple of days it has been. So, yeah, any plans that you have, you just got to put them on hold because that shit, like you can't do anything out there. But yeah, it makes for a good time to sit back, kick back, and watch some movies though.
Oh yeah. You and I said it before. You know, the rain causes just such a great atmosphere for horror.
It really does, man. I used to have a list of movies that I would watch specifically when it was raining outside, that just fit like the ambience of the atmosphere and everything that was going on. You just turn the lights off and have the rain going, and you just watch the movie. So
Nice.
I need to find that list too, because I need to put it out there to add some more to it, because I found some more movies since I made that really pertain to that list. As a matter of fact, I probably need to do a letterbox list of that stuff. Just make a new category for it. But yeah, makes for some good times watching some movies, dude.
Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you got the Fog remake on there, right?
I got that piece of shit nowhere near any list other than it's the movie's a turd, man.
Oh.
I'm sorry. That movie is it's one of the worst.
It's all good. Well, folks, so today's episode starts off the new month, which I believe we're going to do this month and next month themed this way because there's just so many of these films that we want to kind of cover. So, but it's basically killer animal films. So pretty much excited. It's like when nature takes back, you know, kind of deal.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. There's a lot of gems out there when it comes to nature run amok animal attack movies.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they're all compared to Jaws, which is rightfully so because Jaws is the greatest one.
I didn't even think about that one.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about the granddaddy, yeah, you know which one it is. But like I said, I mean, we got some gems out there, though. I mean, they're not all Jaws, of course, but there's some good ones out there, and we can't wait to delve in and find some for you guys to possibly check out and add to your list of movies to watch with Jaws. Or, you know, if you're doing a theme week or whatever, there's a good chance that you probably heard a couple of these films, but there's some out there that are pretty obscure that we're going to try to cover.
Yeah, definitely. We actually just watched Jaws recently. Just like the other day, just turned it on TV and it was just on. So we sat down and we watched. It was like the last bit, but yeah, it was a fun watch. It's always a fun watch watching Jaws.
Jaws is one of those movies. It seems like no matter what you're doing, if it pops on TV, you got to stop what you're doing and watch it.
That's true. That's true. Definitely. But yeah, so yeah. Deadly Eyes, man.
Yes, we are.
Before we get into Deadly Eyes, just real quick, folks, you are listening to the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. We hope that you like, share, subscribe, and check us out on our Facebook group, among other platforms and areas that you can join us and watch us. Pretty much just we're everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, we're on there. But our main social site is the Facebook group, so make sure that you go there and join. and join the discussion there. But folks, with that, we're going to jump into our discussion now, which is 1982's Deadly Eyes. Good stuff.
Yep. Kicking it off the right way with a killer rat flick right out the gate.
Yes. Definitely. I'm excited about this one, man.
Same. I can't wait to talk about this.
Yeah, it's been really a long time coming for the show.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, on a more personal note, this is a special movie for me and you because we had a movie night one night. And this is like a first time watch for us. Back when the Scream Factory, which I watched, I watched it on the Scream Factory Blu-ray that came out. Because I had never seen it. Well, I mean, we both had never seen it before, so we sat down and watched it. We were just blown away. Like it was one of those movies. It's like, where has this movie been all my life?
Mm-hmm.
You watch it, it's like, damn, there's just so much fun stuff going on. And yeah, we had a good movie night. There was we watched Shakma, I believe that. Yep, that was another one on the list, and yeah, that was a good one. I think we watched Monkey Shines too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think we did. I wanted to say we kind of did a theme night that night. Actually, we did animals that night. This was one of them, along with. Did we watch Day of the Animals?
Yes.
So
yep,
we watched. It was like 4 of them we watched.
Yeah.
So
I think we had. I think we picked up Grizzly and we were going to watch that, but we kind of ran out of time pretty much.
It was late. Late.
But yeah, we were going to watch that one too, which that's a good one. Might cover that one.
Definitely.
But
I'd be definitely game to cover that one.
Yeah, same here. It's been a while since I've seen that. But this was one of the highlights, but it was one of the fun ones from that little theme we had.
Mm-hmm.
Just this little, not obscure, not in the way of like what you would think it would be, because I mean, with Scream Factory releasing it, it's not as obscure anymore. But before this releasing, it was really hard to track this down, and for the longest time, you could not find a copy. I think there was a VHS release pretty early on, and it was one of those ones that wasn't I don't think it wasn't released on DVD because Scream Factory did the combo pack. They did the Blu-ray and DVD combo, and I think it was the first time it was released on like a disc form. So, yeah, watching this was like uncovering like a hidden gem almost.
Mm-hmm.
Which I felt that in our movie journey, we've had that experience before where we've seen a movie and we're like, damn, it really made an impact on us, and it's like, where's this movie been all my life? Like I should have watched this a long time ago. And you just feel like you uncovered something and you discovered a very, very hidden gem, almost, so to speak. And I know I'm talking it up before we even get into it, but yeah, this was one of those movies, man, that hit. I think, speaking for both of us, hit us pretty hard as far as like fun factor. It had, I mean, when you talk about killer rat movies, this movie had tons of killer rats, but I think one of the cool things about it is, and I think you want to tell the audience, Corey, what the cool thing about these killer rats per se is.
They're dogs.
They are. They're they're little Dachshunds that are dressed up as rats, and they run around.
They also said that I watched the kind of the behind the scenes, and they actually said that it wasn't just Dachshunds. Actually, it was also like Yorkies and shit too.
Oh, cool. Okay, I thought it was just Dachshunds.
No, apparently there was like Yorkies and some other breed of terriers or something. But supposedly they had to shoot everything kind of in silence because basically you got a whole bunch of rats barking, and then you also got like dog handlers out there with fucking clickers, and they're constantly like clicking, like the dog trainers and shit.
Yeah, that's so fun.
It was a pretty neat little watch the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah,
cool.
I've had this Blu-ray for a long time now, and it's just weird because usually when I'm captivated by a movie and how it's made, especially behind the scenes stuff, I want to check out the special features, but for some reason I haven't checked them out yet. I think I will go through and check out as many as possible because I want to know more about the production and what went into the process of getting these dogs to, to actually chase and do all that. I mean, of course, the dog handlers and stuff were on set, so I know they were able to, like you said, use the clicking
Well,
device to.
they said the way that they got the dogs to basically look like they were attacking people and kind of hoarding people was these actors and actresses, they had like a shit ton of dog food like stuffed in their clothes, and that's essentially the trick. That was the trick.
That's cool.
They said that some of the dogs they had to shoot, like everything had to be just perfect because like you had these full body suits on these Dachshunds, so some of the Dachshunds would like pop their little fucking arms or legs back up into the fucking suit, so it'd be like like a three-legged rat doing circles. Or because they had these rubber, because it was like they were filming in Canada, and with it being so cold there, it just kind of worked. They just basically left the suits on the dogs throughout the day, and then when it was time to film the dogs, rats, they would put these like rubber masks over them, and they had to fit just right with each dog because not the same dog has the same eyes, so they had to actually make it work. And then there was like some dogs that were like trying to fucking throw the mask off, so it was just like as they're running, you see dogs doing this.
It's amazing how they were able to do this whole setup and get to do this, man, on cue. It's remarkable. I know dogs they can be. I mean, I can imagine it'd be hard to you have to be patient, almost with the direction and queuing up shots and whatnot. With this, you'd have to have a little bit of patience. I'm sure the director had a bunch of times where he was probably frustrated and things didn't go right and this and that. He was probably a little bit deterred in the process, but I mean, the fact what we got on screen though is just great. I love the look, and for the audience that hasn't watched this movie before, not all of the shots of the rats are of them running and this and that. There's also close-up shots with puppets and it looks pretty. It looks pretty cool, to be honest with you.
I mean, for 82.
Yeah, for sure. They look great, and and I'm glad that they added that little touch to it too, because I mean, it would have been kind of stagnant to have all the dogs just running constantly and not showing close-up shots of what they look, because it adds a more interesting dynamic to the film when you have those puppets and stuff and that puppet work going on, especially when the close-ups of the actors come into frame and you have the puppet the rat puppets in there too. It's a throwback to old school filmmaking, which I love. The attention to detail and stuff like that. I dig. So it's good to see that in this film. But I mean, you want to do the premise and the plot, dude? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So basically, you have these I don't know what you would call them, like nuclear waste. What are the nuclear waste rats? I wasn't understanding that. Like,
well, apparently they got into there was a corn, not a silo, but somehow the corn had become contaminated in these shipping containers and whatnot, and rats would get in them, and that's what would cause them to mutate and become huge, like dog-sized rats. And basically, we have almost like a health inspector goes in and checks to see what's going on, and she determines that, hey, this stuff's contaminated and whatnot. I'm going to shut this down. But it goes into, and the crazy thing about it is, I was reading up, because apparently, it's shot in Toronto. I believe it's shot. I know it's shot in Canada, but I think the location is left kind of ambiguous because I think there was on a cut release, there was they added shots of like the Twin Towers or some sort of landmark in New York. So you would think that this was shot in New York because they do a lot of shots with the subway and whatnot. So, but apparently that was cut from the final movie. So the city that they're in is left ambiguous on purpose almost. but we don't really
Yeah.
know, in the film where it takes place. I guess it takes place in Toronto, but they were kind of bouncing the idea back and forth on where they wanted it to be, either New York or Toronto. Because I mean, they've shot movies in Toronto before, Vancouver, and said it was New York, and of course,
Well, I mean, it looked like like it was shot in New York.
it kind of did. Yeah, there was some
Mhm.
shots. It's like, okay, I could see that. And then there's just stuff that I just imagine that people that are, of course, local to Toronto would recognize and be like, okay, I'm throwing me off. I know this is Toronto, so it doesn't really surprise me. I mean, I don't remember seeing any like shots of buildings or anything like that where there says Toronto on it. So it is left ambiguous for the most part,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. But sorry, get off a tangent, but yeah. So basically, we follow the health inspector, which is Kelly, I believe.
Mhm.
And she's in the process of trying to figure out what's in the corn and what's contaminating it. And then we follow another character named Paul, who's a teacher and a basketball coach, recently divorced, and he kind of he's conveniently enough, his friend, who's another professor, is a rat expert. So, we open up with this film taking place on a lecture of rats. And I wrote that down in my notes. It's like, wow, all the rat facts that we're given is pretty depressing, really, where they just outnumber us. And they, of course, we all know that they spread diseases and, they spread the plague. And, we know when you think of rats, you think of, disease and filth and all that stuff. But I mean, him just listing out facts like that and speaking very frankly on it was really depressing. It's amazing that they literally could take us out at any time. They outnumber us so much, and they carry all that disease and stuff like that. They could take out the human race, and I mean, they could. I mean,
Mhm.
they did. So it's like I said, wow, how depressing to start out the film with all this stuff. But it's not the first killer rat movie to do that, and it won't be the last, I'm sure.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
basically, like I said, we follow our character Paul and Kelly, and eventually they meet up toward the middle of the film to kind of like get their heads together on what's going on, because they don't know right away that there's killer rats running around the city wreaking havoc.
Mhm.
And and we follow another little subplot, which is really hilarious to me. This girl that is one of Paul's students, her name is Trudy, played by the very lovely Lisa Lang-Lois, who is a very underrated scream queen, one of my favorites. She's a Canadian scream queen.
Mhm.
This movie has two very underrated Canadian scream queens, which I wanted to shout out. Leslie Donaldson is another one. This is her friend with the curly brunette, the real bubbly girl. That's always
Mhm.
how her progress is going with the professor, because she's trying to hook up with the professor as college students do.
Mhm.
But she's not doing it to. It seems like she's not trying to do that to get any grades or whatnot. She just wants to experience. I guess hooking up with an older man. So, which she mentioned several times in the movie. But yeah, there's a little subplot going on there, which is hilarious. Where it goes, very funny. But yeah, follow our two characters. They're like I said, there's rats running amok in the city based on contaminated, getting into contaminated corn and eating the corn and growing at an exponential rate. And they just attack. This movie, to me, dude, and I don't know about you, but it feels very like 50s creature feature. It's got that motif that I
It,
love.
yeah, it starts out that way, I feel.
Especially with the score. The score kind of reminds me of it too. When the score kicks in and the rats are attacking and terrorizing, it draws me back to like the 50s creature features. I don't know why it does, but it just does. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but that's what I got when I was watching
Yeah.
it.
Well, I mean, given who was working on the film, maybe. I didn't really read into much of, like you said, you did a little bit more background of the director. You know that he did like a lot of the Bruce Lee films and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, But as far as like the writer, co-producer, I didn't really like dig too much into who he was. I
Hmm.
know that he was an American that was brought in on this project, I think, to write this film, and then eventually, like I said, co-produce it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and actually, it's kind of funny. So I'll jump on kind of that a little bit. I watched like an interview with him, and he was talking about this film, and he said that he didn't realize like how popular this film was until he was on the set of one of his most famous. I guess he does like a lot of TV shows, and he did he did the show Dexter. He was one of the writers of on Dexter, and he said that when he was on set, somebody was like, "Oh, holy shit, you're that guy," and he was like, "How do you know that?" So apparently, he didn't realize like how popular this film was, or how much of a cult following this film really had.
I love hearing stories like that.
Yeah,
I'm like, it's almost like vindication for these guys. You know, when they make something and they feel like it's forgotten about, and it's no one thinks about it, and then they get the love and appreciation from fans, and it kind of takes them back, and they don't expect it. That's really cool. I love hearing stories like that, man, because a lot of these sadly enough, a lot of these directors that aren't big names like the Carpenters and the Cravens and stuff like that, they feel like their work's just like completely forgotten about, and no one really cares about their career. But then they find out that they have a big cult following, and
hmm
sure, it just warms their heart and makes them happy, and makes them think back more on a positive, view of that experience and making that film, rather than just thinking about it being negative, where it was completely forgotten about. So I love hearing stuff like that, dude. That's
yeah.
awesome. But yeah, apparently this was a based on a novel called The Rats by someone, an author named James Herbert, who apparently, I was looking up the trivia. He was not a big fan of this movie.
Wow,
A big fan of what they did with his work. So he called it trash, and it was terrible. And yeah, he was not a big fan.
kind of like Clive Barker.
Yep. Thought about that. Yeah, thought about that. And Stephen King with The Shining, not being a big fan of that, even though it's
Yeah.
a piece. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah,
Which, by the way, the Shining in this film shares somebody.
there's a reason I did that. Yep. Yep. Scatman's in this movie. Dick
Yeah.
Halloran's in this, which is a point I made up. So he works for the health. He works for the health inspector. He's a field agent. Goes out there and works. Checks out stuff and make sure everything's in good top quality. And I kind of wrote that down, and I was like, man, we could have used more Scatman in this movie. He's awesome. I love
Yeah.
when he's down in the is it the tunnel? Yeah, it was in the tunnels, because I remember them chasing him down in the tunnel. I love when he's down there and he's talking shit to the rats. I love it.
Yeah,
Crack
he's like, I got a whole truckload full of shit that'll fuck you up.
me up. I love it, man. He's so good. I think he was dispatched too early, man. We could have used some more Scatman in this. He was
Yeah,
great.
this was one of his last films, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. I didn't realize how much in age the guy was. I remember like when I first saw this movie, I didn't really recognize him. It wasn't until I watched this viewing I was like, oh my god, that's the guy from The Shining.
The calorie, dude. Hell yeah.
So awesome.
It's really cool seeing him in this, man.
Yeah, I think there was another story about where the producer or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but on that same interview, he was talking about how pretty much one of his jobs was to make sure that he had enough pot.
Sounds about right.
That's funny.
Yeah. And there's good stuff, man. There's one thing I noticed too when so they're at a party, and Trudy, one of our college girls, is hanging out with her friend, and she's her friend's asking her, like, hey, what's the progress going with the Paul, her professor? And she's like, oh, I'm trying to get his attention and whatnot. It's just not really working. I guess I have to try a more direct approach. And her friend, they actually make a bet. I was like, wow, you don't really see this a lot in movies, where two girls are betting on whether or not one of them is going to hook up with an older man or a man in particular, like at all. That you just never see that. You see that with the dudes all the time. Like you see that constantly. But in this movie, it's like, wow, they kind of subverted the expectations on that, and now the girls are betting on whether or not she can close the deal with this guy or not. I'm like, that's pretty unique. I never see that. That was pretty cool. But
Yeah.
they're at a party, and just a bunch of kids are out at the party and stuff, hanging out. Apparently, there's this girl babysitting this little baby, and constantly, like the neighbor comes up, it's like, turn that fucking music down, it's too loud. So I hear constantly somebody saying something about turning this music, and no one ever turns the music down. They just keep.
No, they keep jamming.
I'm like, is anybody ever going to turn this music down?
I was wondering that too.
Kill me, man. Even the girl is like, hey, you guys really need to turn it down. She walked right past it, didn't fucking turn it down. Like, just turn it down.
You know this movie's in the 80s because everyone's like, oh man, I'm bummed. Let's go get something to eat. So they all leave to go eat. And then they asked the girl that's babysitting, and she was, do you want to come? And she was like, I've got the baby. And they were like, oh, she'll be fine.
I wrote that down. It's like, what? It's like a 2-year-old. You can't leave her house by herself.
She's sitting in her high chair. She's good.
What's wrong with you, man? I wrote that down as soon as I heard that. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's fucking insane. But yeah, there's some dialogue in this movie that fucking cracks me up. Just love it, man.
I will say, I did write down a note that I found interesting because I saw it, and of course, doing the show now, I'm critiquing the shit out of a movie when I'm watching it. And one of the things, and I have noticed this in a couple films, but there was a film a while back where I was watching it, and there was a scene with somebody. It was a zombie film, but it was a scene where pretty much like they were shooting like from like up top views of the actors sitting at a table. And I noticed, like, on the floor, which was like this really crappy 70s linoleum floor, it looked god awful. They had plastic all over the floor, and it's like somebody's gonna get fucking brutally murdered in this scene, and sure as shit it happens. And so what I'm getting at is, if you notice, when she follows the blood trail of Caroline, that's the baby's name, because the rats come in through the basement, and the first thing I noticed was, as they're doing a POV shot going up the stairs into the kitchen from the basement, I noticed there's newspaper on that really crappy looking 70s carpet. And I was like, and then there's like a blood trail going all the way down to the basement on that newspaper. It's like, so whoever's house that was didn't want that carpet fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
So I did notice that. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's a cool little touch. Somebody didn't want their carpet, fucked up bad.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah.
So that fake blood would have probably stained the shit out of it.
I couldn't believe they had the balls to do that in the movie, kill the kid. That's fucking,
right off the rip, dude.
you just don't see that.
Who is the first victim besides the cat?
Besides
that's funny.
Yeah. It was one of that.
Scatman's cat or whatever.
The first victim for sure was the cat. No, I think it was the little girl was the first victim. Yeah.
Actually, human victim.
Yeah, our human victim. Yeah, right.
So I'm pretty sure it was Caroline.
Yeah,
which was interesting.
And then
killed off a baby.
I couldn't figure out that it was her sister that was babysitting her, or what that was about, or just the babysitter. I couldn't remember because she said mom and dad.
I'm wondering if that wasn't what was Trudy's friend's name, the bubbly girl that you were talking about.
Oh, Leslie Donaldson's character. What was her name? Was it Susie?
Susie, yes.
It's Susie.
She looks a lot like her. So I'm kind of wondering if she was portrayed to be like her little sister.
Right, could have been, yeah.
It never went back to that because She died in the basement, obviously. Really off camera.
Pretty much, yeah. She turned around. There's a killer rat.
Yeah.
Which I love.
The end of the scene, you don't know what happens to her after that. I've actually found myself wondering, like, did they ever go back to the house to find the blood trail of the missing child? Like, no. Yeah. Okay.
Please come back there and check it out for everything. Nope, I guess not. This movie has a very Jaws thing where the health inspector's boss is very friendly with her because there's like workplace sexual harassment going on where he's like, he literally says, one of these days you're going to get that pretty little ass of yours nailed to the wall. I'm like, wow, you really just cannot do that.
Can't say that in this day and age.
Like, damn. But yeah, he's got this thing where, so the mayor of their city he's got a new subway system track coming through, so he's basically trying to downplay this whole killer rat situation because he doesn't want it to interfere with this new grand opening of the subway. So he's like basically pushing it aside, like, hey, nothing's going on, you guys are jumping to conclusions, there's nothing happening, you can't make up stories and this and that. So basically he doesn't want any part of it. He's trying to downplay everything as much as possible. But yeah, her boss is like on her ass constantly about, hey, you need to chill out with the story. You can't be letting people know that there's killer rats running around or that there's a problem, even if they weren't really sure if that was the case or not. They didn't want any of that publicity out there because they didn't want that.
I don't think that he wanted to believe her, really.
Yeah, and it didn't seem like it. Like, it didn't seem like he did at all. Which was, I couldn't believe that whole scene, how it played out. I was shocked. I was like, damn, man, this movie's got some dialogue that you just don't. This is of its time for sure. Like, you could not do some of this stuff now. It's impossible. People would lose their mind. But yeah, that's one of those lines that I was like, I gotta write that down. That's fucking nuts. I can't believe you said that.
Oh, also, there might be some copyright issues here.
Yeah.
I did notice there was a picture of Mickey Mouse hanging up in the office.
Ooh.
Yeah.
In the office? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, and the office where they work or whatever. There's I think there's a scene where her and Scatman are talking. I forget his damn name in the damn movie. His character's name. But Scatman's cool. We'll just say Scatman because everyone knows who that is there. But yeah, they're totally talking, two people, and there's a Mickey Mouse picture.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Like hanging right between them, and it's like,
I was too involved in the conversation. I must not have seen it, but I just love him going like, I'm not going out there and looking at no, fuck that. You're not going to get me out there and do this shit no more. She's like, well, that's your job. He's like, I'm going to have to find another job. I'm not going out there with this shit going on.
He did talk a lot of shit. She's like, you're late. And he's like, yeah, when the boss is out, that means we can show up late. You know what I'm saying? And she was like, I don't know what you're saying.
I don't know. Like, I'm not feeling it. Yeah, he was so cool, man. He reminds me of that prototypical guy that's been in a job for a long time. So he's just like kicking back and chilling, waiting on retirement. Just not wanting to do the hard work anymore. Just wanting to skate by with as little as possible that he's done. It's it's funny. It's a good dynamic. He had a good dynamic with her with that whole conversation. But yeah, to go on your point about the POV, I love the killer rat POV. It's good stuff, man.
I always like POV like that.
Killer rat POV. Fuck yeah, I'm all about it. Love that. Little tiny little fucking. This is great.
Yeah. So basically we're at a point where let's talk about the little love triangle that's going on in the film.
Oh yeah.
So you got first and foremost, I don't know, I should have wrote down names. I didn't write down names, but Paul,
yeah,
portrayed by, could you have seen Art Hindle play him?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was like, oh, this would have been a great role for Art Hindle.
Yeah.
Especially during that time period too.
Hell yeah, dude.
He would have showed up in that fucking coat.
Yeah, dude. Well, I mean, we're big proponents of Art Hindle. We love Art Hindle. So anytime we can picture him in a scenario where he's in another Canadian horror film, we're all about it because he's the man with his fucking killer pimp coat on, and That would have been cool as hell. I did, dude. I thought about that too when I was watching. I was like, man, Art killed this role right now.
Yeah,
He's
and
awesome.
he's such a ladies' man. Like, of course, Trudy would have been all over him too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I could see him in this role, man. I really could.
Yeah,
It's
that
like
would have been
his kind of thing.
that would have been good. But I mean, the guy that played him, I don't. But I mean, Paul, I like Paul's character.
Yeah. Well, he
Yep.
seemed like, and the thing I liked about his character is he seemed like a genuine good dad. Like he really cared about his son. He was really, really pushing. Like he knows his son. This is a great thing I love about this movie. They have setups and payoffs. Like they set up a character, his fascination with this in particular, and then at the end of the movie it comes into play. I like that. That's
Mhm.
basic stuff that movies should do right, and this movie did it right.
Yeah.
But no, he does seem like a really good dad. He genuinely loves his son, and he's always there from there's little moments and stuff like that. When even when him and his son walk into the house, and his son goes to the TV and turns the TV on, he's like, nope. He's like, you got to get in the shower, got to wash up. And he's like, oh, Dad, I just turned on the TV. He looked at him. He's like, well, it's gotta wait. You got to get in the shower. He's like, really? Do I have to? And he kind of turns around. He looks at him and gives his son a smile. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna hop in real quick. You can watch it, and after I'm out, you're up next. Like that's the
Yeah.
kind of stuff I do with my kids. Like I'm talking to my kids about like, hey, you need to get in the shower, and they're like, oh, well, we just sat down to do this. I'm like, all right, well, let me hop in real quick, and then you guys can watch that for a minute, and then switch up. Like it just reminded me of stuff I do with the kids. But
Yeah.
he was cool. His character was cool. He had a lot of self control. He was he had a lot of self control because
Yeah.
it was,
Trudy was laying it on thick.
he had it on thick on him, and I did it, but he held strong and he held true, and he didn't
Yeah, he actually says that in the film because
Oh.
in the locker room, yeah, the balls on this chick to walk up in the fucking locker room after him getting out of the shower.
well, she was laying it, like we said, laying it on thick, especially later on in the movie. That
Well-
whole scene fucking great.
And then my thing is, okay, again, this sort of thing. Well, I mean, I mean, it does happen, unfortunately, where students do get with their teachers. That, but you know, I look back though, and I mean, it's still like it's definitely frowned upon these days, but it was kind of unheard of back in the day,
Yeah.
you know, like
Well,
back in those times.
I think this is a more common thing in college. I mean, in grade school and stuff like that might not happen so much. Well, not if you don't watch the news and you see how many times that a teacher is locked up for soliciting and this. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's frequent now. Than well, I guess it's because you hear about it more in the news. I don't know, but I guess in college because even when I did final exam, they had a scenario like that a younger student was hooking up with our older college professor, and like I said, especially when you really sit down and watch a lot of these movies, you notice things and you notice patterns, and
Mhm.
if you watch enough, you'll see that this was more frequent than you would think. But the cool thing about this, she wasn't in it for an ulterior motive other than just to be with the older man. She didn't want to get good grades. She didn't want to skate by college. This and that. She basically did it because she was bored with her young boyfriend, who was just a jock and kind of boring and all about sports and this and that. And she felt like I guess she needed more maturity, so that she was after him. Just to be after him with no ulterior motives, which is rare. You don't see
Yeah.
that very often.
Mm-mm.
Because even if you do see something like this in a movie, it's basically for them to get something or
Like good grades or
good
Yeah.
grade or whatever, get money. I mean, bribes. I don't know, but in this movie, no, they didn't go that route, which is pretty unique.
yeah, she she genuinely wanted the experience of an older gentleman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even she said that to her friend. Like that's exactly how she put it.
Mhm.
When she was explaining why, because her friend's like, "Why you got a young boyfriend who's he's kind of like a star on the basketball team. He's going places, and you want to throw all that away to
Which
get
I
with."
really felt bad for him.
I did too, dude. I
'Cause
felt so.
she Yeah, when she was into Paul, she was like giving him the cold shoulder, but kind of stringing him along, like in case this doesn't work out, I'm still gonna have you. And then that happens. It's like, wow, this chick needs to learn a lot.
Yeah, it was sad, man. He's like, because he's so confused. He's like, well, what did I do? I didn't even do anything wrong.
Yeah,
She's just she's being a complete bitch to him the whole time, and he's like, I didn't do anything.
yeah,
It'd be one thing if I did something, but
yeah.
he just couldn't figure it out. And he's like, you know what? It got to the point where he's like, fuck it, fine, I'm done. I don't care. You do whatever you want to do. I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. And then they basically go their separate ways. And then it's like, whoa, shit, then okay. Then we find out later, oh, man, I can't wait to get to that scene in particular.
We can go ahead and talk about it.
Oh, the movie theater scene.
Oh yeah, that scene. Yeah, we'll save that. So we're kind of on the bedroom scene a little bit here.
Oh, you want to get into that scene? Okay.
Well, we were talking about the love triangle a little bit. Well,
Right.
beforehand, at this point, I'm wanting to call him Art Handle. Paul.
Kendall character. Yes.
Yeah. Paul gets with Kelly. So Paul goes home to make I love that. Paul goes home to make a Hungry Man dinner. And first things first, I didn't realize that Hungry Man dinner had been around this long.
Me neither. I wrote that down too. I was like,
Yeah.
I've been around that long? Holy shit.
But it's not microwavable. It's literally in the oven for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's like a real dinner.
Yeah. That's great. I love it.
Yeah, he literally threw it in, and she calls him, and she's like, I was just wondering if you want to go out for dinner. And he's like, well, I had plans, but it looks like they're going to get canceled. And he's literally taking the TV dinner out of the
He puts
oven.
it back in the freezer. He puts it back in the freezer.
But then he's like, I wrote this down, but then he's like, all right, I'll pick you up, say around like 5. And she's like, that'll be fine. And he's like, great. And they hang up, and I'm just like, did you get an address?
Yeah, right?
You just magically know where she lives? You only met her once.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
Just a chance encounter. But that's another thing I wanted to touch on is they play with those, character traits where, she's calling him and pursuing him, which is like, I mean, you just don't, it's like gender reversal. Like, you don't, normally, typically, the man is trying to court the woman, and then in this case, no, it's the opposite. Which I was like, wow, that's cool to see that in a movie this, that came out this early in the '80s. This is something you see nowadays, with our society now. You just didn't see it back then. It was a completely different scenario. So it's another thing I love that they added a little touch to, where, this is a strong female character that she knew what she wanted, and she wanted to go after him, and that's where the love triangle came into play, which I love where that goes. Usually I complain about this, like, oh God, this is so stupid and stuff, but the way it transgressed into what that scene in particular was fucking awesome. I loved it. So great.
Well, so pretty much they go on a date and they enjoy themselves. They have a great time. But here's the thing. Okay, so they go back to her apartment, Kelly's apartment. Okay, and I couldn't help but, and I wrote this down in my notes, I couldn't help but notice this. Well, first and foremost, so in the scene where they are making out, because Kelly puts out on the first date, apparently.
Yes, apparently she does.
unless Paul is just that much of a Mac. Like, he's apparently the man here.
Apparently, dude, he's
in the background, in her dining room, I noticed the table and chair set, and I was like, holy shit, I have that same table and chair set.
Do you really?
Yes. So I was like, wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, down to like, I was like making sure, like I was like looking at it carefully. I was looking at the chairs, and it's got like little arches, and I was like, oh, my chairs have those. I was like, holy shit, that is my table and chair set.
That's insane.
Yeah, kind of funny.
Admit.
But yeah, so I love that. Yeah, he totally hits it off with Kelly, and I think they're just really good for each other.
No, yeah, for sure. Like that seems more of a believable couple than him hooking up with Trudy, which that's probably all that would have been. Because even he has a talk with her. He's like, listen. He's like, she's like, well, she's like, I love you, and this is that. He's like, I don't think you do. He's like, I think what you're confusing this is with just a crush. Like that's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you're thinking about nothing but the physical aspect of it, and there's emotional connections and this and that. Well, she's like, well, can't you build on that? And he's like, yes, if two people want it. In my case, I don't. You were way too young. You got your whole life ahead of you, and I give him kudos for telling her that. That takes balls to do that.
That's some willpower right there.
It speaks to his character. He's a strong-willed character, and even he says he's like willpower, Paul. When
Yeah.
she, like he struggled with that because this is a very good-looking woman. So he's, like I said, willpower. He had plenty of it. But yeah, the whole story. I could see why people would complain about it, but to me, it was interesting because it was so different. This whole love triangle. It's not something you would typically see going the way it does. Usually, you would see, the man pursuing the woman that's his age, and this is that. But no, the woman's pursuing him, and then, he's turning a young college co-ed down. It's like, man, this is interesting. This is very unique for the time, especially. So I didn't mind it at all because it was so unique. It's so different.
Well, yeah, and it just goes to show that he has, Paul's character has such a sense of class, really.
Yeah. Absolutely. He carries himself with more class than you would get like a sleazy professor just trying to score with all the co-eds and on campus like that. He's not that guy. He's like I said, he's even a coach too of the basketball team.
Yeah,
and drills and stuff like that. He's coaching them, and it's he has good rapport. He has good rapport with his players. Like remember when the dude got his hand bit, like his star player, and he took him to the hospital and checked up on him and made sure everything was okay, and had the team sign a basketball for him, which is really cool. I like that. That's like, oh man, it's a really close knit team.
Yeah, I like how he was like. I like how what was it he said to him? He was like, yeah, all the players really just wanted to, show their love for you, even though you barely show up for practice.
Yeah, right.
It's like, damn.
Guy got by just on his natural talent alone. He didn't need practice. He was. He's like Iverson. Practice. We talking about practice, man. That's another thing, dude. But yeah, he does. He cared a lot about his student athletes and. He's very professional, very very professional.
Yeah,
it's so it's not cliche, but it's so funny how his good friend is a professor and he teaches about rodents and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that's convenient. Like of all
really the irony behind it.
Yeah, I'm like but it's funny. It's movie convenience. It happens a lot. You see. It. Don't take it seriously. It's one of those things. But I always thought that was pretty funny when I saw them. But yeah, dude, I was gonna say the score. Like I said, the score and the way it's shot not the way it's shot, but just the score and the music and what's going, stuff's going down. Just reminds me of those old '50s creature features. I don't know why. Got that feeling when I watched it. But what this movie does, what I love that this movie does, is it takes the carnage and the gore and relishes in it. It doesn't shy away from it. Doesn't act like it's better than or acts like it's more highbrow. It relishes in the absurdity of a killer rats running amok on a city and eating people and just tearing the civilization society up. It was amazing. The attacks and the gore is so cool, dude. I love that this movie didn't shy away from any of that.
Yeah, same here. I love. Yeah, everything about this film really. The only thing that I did have a problem with was in some of the sewer scenes, I could have seen it being really dark, and very almost hard to see. But I was watching, I was expecting something a little bit better because there was some dark scenes that was outside of the sewer and stuff like that were dark, and I was just like, man. So lighting, I think, could have been a little bit better for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, cinematography in general was pretty good.
Yeah.
There were a couple shots that I think could have been a little bit better, but overall, just the lighting is really the only issue that I really had. And the guy playing air guitar, he did not know what he was doing.
Yeah, he looked very odd doing that.
I am a professional at air guitar, and
He was doing it all wrong.
he was hitting the wrong notes.
Wrong nose. He's way off. Way off his air guitar game. Amateur.
It's like they got an actor to play this role. What is this?
Oh man, dude. So do you want to talk about going off this love triangle? Did you want to talk about the fucking great
bedroom scene?
The apartment bedroom scene.
So Paul goes to get a shower, and he comes out, and surprise, there's a half naked girl on his bed. Trudy.
She's there. She broke into it. Well, no,
she didn't break in.
Didn't, because she said that I got the key from your landlord because I told him that I was your niece or something like that.
And this is the 80s, and everything's believable.
Yeah, exactly.
And Canada, where apparently everyone's trustworthy. This film obviously did not take place in New York.
No, not at all. But my favorite thing about that whole scene was when his son walks in, his reaction.
Yeah, he was. I wonder if that was genuine, like real, like he didn't know there was a girl in there, and he because she pretty much when she, what was it? She said something like, "So do you like what you see?" And she spread her legs.
Yeah.
And like spread eagle, she wasn't fully naked, nothing like that, but she had granny panties on, and. Again, this was the 80s. but yeah, the little kid like walks up and he's like, I wonder if that was genuine. Like he was like, oh shit, there's a half naked girl in there,
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's really acting on his part if he did know she was in there, because he sold that shit. He looked like, wow. Yeah. So
Boobies.
the thing about it was, when that was going on, Paul was trying to get her out of his house, and Kelly comes in because they were supposed to meet up to go on the grand opening of the subway.
Yeah.
So she comes in, she knocks on the door, rings the bell, and the son lets her in. And he's like, yeah, my dad's in his room. He said he doesn't want to be disturbed. So he's just setting this poor guy up.
Yeah.
Failure at this point.
I felt so bad for Paul in this moment because I was like, oh God.
What are the odds that happens like that, and then he gets caught in that scenario?
Yeah.
Listen, I know this looks bad, but I promise you I have a great explanation for this.
And she's like, oh, I bet you do. By the way, your zipper's down.
She told that Trudy, her zipper was down. That was great. He's coming out with a towel and shit. Like, it looks bad for him.
Oh yeah, it looks pretty rough.
Like she didn't get really super like jealous or angry about it. She seemed like kind of playful about it, but she did straight up kidnap his son. You noticed that, right?
Yeah, I wrote that down. I was like, dude, what the hell?
Just took his stuff.
Yeah, she's like, go get dressed. We got to be somewhere. So he goes into the bedroom. This is after Trudy leaves, and pretty much like, yeah, she's like, the little boy Timmy. That's his name, Timmy. Yeah. He's like, are we still going to ride the train? And she goes, I guess we are. And she grabs his hand and like goes towards the door. And I'm like, you gonna wait for the dad? What is this? And she's and he's like, hey, where are you guys going? And she's like, you obviously got to get dressed. You can meet us there. And she just fucking leaves. And it's like, holy shit, she just took his kid. You guys, what? Just all of a sudden go on one date, you screw, and suddenly this is a thing?
Yeah, like that's not how that. And I just say that, Paul seemed like a great dad. He seemed like a genuine dad. After all that he just lets his son get.
Yeah, he just lets him go. I would have lost my shit. I'd have been like, where the fuck do you think you're going with my kid?
My kid. Oh my god. And like I said, I guess I don't know, man. I don't know how the fuck that works, but it did. But
Again, this is the 80s, and people are more trustworthy, I guess.
I guess so. That whole-
Again, obviously, this film did not take place in New York, because that would have been a bad scenario if
Oh,
a
yeah.
chick just took your kid, versus, I guess, Canada, where it's okay to take people's children.
God. No part of that.
It's, they couldn't have rewrote that somehow, some way.
Yeah.
Like-
Well, they had to find a way to separate them so that for the film's climax, they meet up and stuff like that for a dramatic reveal, and they save the day, and that's the movie structured that way. But they probably could have done a better job of setting that up. Honestly, that's one critique that seemed very weird, where she just snatched his kid up and took off and just left him there. He's like, "Listen, it's only going to take me a couple minutes to get dressed. Just wait
Yeah.
for me." Like, all I got to do is put some pants on, a shirt, and I'm good to go. I'm ready to roll. But no, she had to be there. She was going to miss it.
Yeah.
She couldn't wait around anymore.
Yeah,
But,
she had to go.
exactly. I had an appointment. No, she had to meet the mayor or something.
And Timmy never took a shower.
No, he never got a shower.
A dirty little kid.
Damn it. You're right. He never got a shower.
Oh yeah.
But then that leads up. So after this point, Trudy's just like, okay, I'm done. I've thrown myself with this dude so many times, and he's turned me down each time. So she's like, no, what, I'm done. I'm going to go back to my her boyfriend. And she meets him up at the movie theater, which this sequence, holy shit, man. It's chaotic. It's awesome. Like, they're kind of getting hot and heavy at the theater. Like, they're making out and
They're
stuff.
getting really hot and heavy.
He's like,
at one point, did you realize that she grabbed his crotch?
she did. Yeah.
Yeah. Straight up grabbed his crotch.
Like, well, damn.
Like,
So
he
he's-
didn't even have to do the popcorn trick or anything.
No, he didn't. But the thing about it is, he was so into the movie, and I'm like, yeah, I like Bruce Lee movies, dude, but you got this beautiful woman, like, all over your shit. Like, put the fucking popcorn down. So he finally does. He's finally like, you know what? All right, fuck the movie. I'm into this shit. So he puts the popcorn down. He gets attacked by a fucking rat, and then all hell breaks loose in this fucking theater.
Everyone gets rats.
Oh my god, it's amazing. It reminded me of the Blob, the remake when the Blob.
Yes.
Yeah, I love a sequence in a theater where all hell breaks loose and people are getting massacred. Even in Demons, it kind of happens in Demons too.
Mm-hmm.
Same kind of thing. All hell breaks. I love that shit, man. And this movie does it so well.
Let me ask you this, okay? There was so much chaos. They were upstairs, correct?
Mm-hmm.
There was so much chaos that if you notice carefully, like, some people get pushed out of a window.
Yeah. Well, hell,
Like,
Judy.
I was, because like you see, yeah, she gets pushed out of a window, doesn't she?
No, he gets like
No.
trampled to death.
Who
Trudy, like her, because
doesn't she live?
it didn't look like it, dude. She looked like she had
Okay.
dead eyes, man. Like she was laid out dead.
Oh, okay.
No,
it was her friend. It was her friend Susan, or
friend. Yeah, her friend
Yeah.
got thrown through the window.
she was out. She was about to walk into the theater because she was tired of waiting on her boyfriend, who was conveniently dead.
It's another thing, like even that scene, the bowling alley thing.
Yeah.
Like I was I don't think they could have done this back then, but I was waiting. So he went behind the pin setters to reset the pins, and the
Yeah.
rat attacked him, and he there was a bunch of rats that killed him back there.
Yeah.
And then the balls come back through the dispenser, and this lady grabs one of them, and there's blood on her hand. I was halfway expecting like a head to pop.
Oh, that would have been cool too.
Well, I mean, it's been done before. Gutter
Well,
balls did.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking? I was actually saying to myself as this scene was going down, because I'm gonna be honest, it's been a while since I've watched this movie. But the scene behind the what would you call that? The bowling, the pin resets or whatever. As that was turning and stuff, I was seeing like blood spraying everywhere, stuff like that. So I was kind of hoping for like the pins to go back down and they'd be all like just covered in blood. So I was like, bloody pins, and then it was the bowling ball.
Just like, no, let's just put a little bit of blood on the bowling ball. That's all we have to do. And then some of the, she goes to grab the bowling ball. There's just be a little blood.
What's this?
But did you notice her his boss in the bowling alley. Did you notice that actor?
Mm-mm.
That's Happy from My Bloody Valentine. The
Really?
Doomsayer. Yeah, the Doomsayer in My Bloody Valentine. The guy's like, "Oh, Harry Warden's coming back. He's gonna kill you all." You know,
Wow.
that Crazy Ralph character. Yeah,
Mhm.
I was like, damn, that dude looks familiar. I'm like, I know who that is. That's Happy from My Bloody Valentine. Fucking cool,
Another
man.
another Canadian film
Another Canadian, of course. Yeah,
right there. That's
absolutely.
cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I thought that was neat.
Yeah. Right on. But yeah, that theater scene was crazy though.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
probably one of my favorite scenes right there.
it's my favorite sequence in the movie because I like I said, I love scenes in horror movies where shit breaks out in a theater and chaos ensues and there's just massive carnage with moviegoers and stuff like that getting slaughtered. And oh, dude, this movie, I tell you, like I said, I think about the Blob and Demons and this, and like they do it so well,
Hmm.
just so much fun, like seeing that carnage and stuff. Because this movie's got a fucking high body count, man. A lot of people get like ravaged in this movie. Like they do
Hmm.
not back. There's a lot of
No.
death, all graphic. I mean, there's a lot of graphic stuff going on here. So I dig it. That's probably it, to be honest with you, yeah, it's probably my favorite sequence in the whole movie. Um,
Yeah.
it's so well done. And then the subway massacre too. That's another one where it just goes like, okay, you can't really top this. Oh yeah, we can go even crazier when have all these people that are waiting around the subway just get mauled and massacred by these rats. It's amazing, dude.
Hmm.
Like I said, this movie does not hold back. It really relishes on the carnage and gore. Like it loves showing it off. Like
Hmm.
I don't know, man. They were just getting away with. They were trying to throw everything at you as far as like kills and whatnot. And it's pretty fantastic. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't really get a lot of visceral gore and stuff like that. You just get more like bloody violence and stuff like that. But I don't want it to make it seem like it's a gore fest or anything like that. But there's a lot of blood, a lot of bloodshed. Um, but like I said, a lot of people getting attacked and butchered and eaten by rats. So
Yeah. Yeah. I love the fact that the rats are smart enough and conveniently they cut the power to the train, stuff
yeah.
like that. So that's really a cool touch.
But what did Paul's professor character, his friend, mentioned
Yeah.
something about rats having like an alley that they're always traveling down. That it's a specific path that they're always on.
From their
Uh,
nest. Yeah.
yeah, and this movie kind of played with that a little bit as far as their movements around, the
Yeah,
tunnels and
they called it I think their alleyway or something.
alleyway. That was it. Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
alleyway. And it played on that a little bit with how they were getting around the tunnels
Well, they
and just
thought they knew where the nest was, and
yeah,
so they like uh, gassed it, I guess you would say, or gassed like the alleyway. But turns out they had many alleyways. It wasn't just the one, that main one. So I think that drove them out, and that's when they went all hell breaks
yeah,
loose. Like
basically
went
what's
went to the bowling alley, and then they even went after the professor. The irony behind that. It's like,
yeah,
oh, here's a professor solely, his whole drive and his profession is rats, and yet he gets mauled by rats. Like,
all the rats. It just goes to show you, no one's safe, and
no.
you get taken out by these fuckers.
Mm,
No one's safe. But I love the scenes where they're going down the tunnels, the rats, and you just know that they're dogs. They're running like dogs. In some cases, I think you can even see their tails wagging. Like it's. I mean,
you
it's
can.
adorable. It's adorable. It's and I see and I've noticed the critique on this movie is where the tension's not set up high because you know that it's a dog in a rat costume. It's too playful. It's too. I mean, I don't. It's whatever, man. I like it still. It doesn't deter me at all. It doesn't. It doesn't take away from tension and tension building and stuff.
And and if you didn't know they were rats, you would actually sit there and be trying to wonder how the hell they pulled that off.
Yeah,
Or excuse me, the rats were dogs. If you didn't know that, going into the film, I think that would make a difference.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it would be like, how the hell did they pull that off? I think the same guy that, in an interview that I watched, the same guy that did the puppet, or not the puppets, but he was in charge of putting the costume, or designing the costumes, really, for all the dogs. He was asked to do the same thing on a film years later, and it was a complete failure. He admitted it, like, in the interview. He was like, it was probably the worst decision of my career. And that was Aliens 3.
Wow.
Yeah, he said that he did the same thing where he put a dog in a costume and you can clearly tell that it's a dog.
Yeah.
And he said that was probably the worst decision, but it wasn't his decision, but because it worked on this movie, the director of that film was like, make it happen. It obviously worked once, it can work again, and you're the one that did it. And he was like not happy with it.
Yeah. Caught lightning in a bottle with it. It just worked.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to each his own. I don't see it as being a deterrent for the movie where it ratchets, it kind of lowers the tension and the suspense and all that stuff by knowing that these just playful little dogs, and it's not as dangerous, and it just, I don't know. I've heard that critique before, but it doesn't bother me. Oh man, I just think it's charm. It just adds charm to the movie to me.
Yeah.
Feel, like it's got its own little thing going on.
And you got to remember what they accomplish nowadays with CGI. They didn't have that back then, and if they did CGI back then, it was really shitty. Because it was pretty much in its baby stages, I think, around that time, or maybe that was a little before CGI time, really. But one thing that you got to remember is, yes, these are dogs in these suits, but however, don't critique it too much because this is practical effects, and they had to do what they had to do to accomplish a film, and I think it was successful.
And this is a Canadian tax shelter film, so it's the budget wasn't high. It's lower budget filmmaking. They have to figure out ways to get around, to cut costs and get around this and that. But the cool thing was, man, I got on, after checking this movie out, I got on IMDb and was checking trivia, and I noticed on the IMDb ratings that there was a user on there that wrote or did a review on the film. He's actually somebody that had a character in this movie. He played an extra in this movie. And he said in his review that the dogs in the movie were very well taken care of. They had their own, like, climate controlled suits, and they had, they were basically or not suits. I'm sorry, they had their own, like, climate controlled almost kennels, and they were well taken care of. They were taken. Matter of fact, he said these dogs were taken better care of than us. So made sure to take care of the dogs. Unfortunately, though, I did hear there was a mishap where one of the dogs passed away from I guess it was exhaustion or asphyxiation in the suit, which is very, very sad, man. It's very tragic. I can't believe it, and especially with how he said the dogs are just so well taken care of. How that would happen, I don't know. It's kind of hard to believe, but unfortunately, that did happen. But I noticed that, and I was like, man, this is really cool. So I kept reading it, and he's talking about, like, all the things that the dogs had they were pampered and whatnot. Man, I can't believe that. It's low budget film, but they're adding all these expenses for the dogs to make sure the dogs are comfortable. I was like, okay, that's cool. I think that they're putting their money in the right places, man. Dogs are taken care of.
I mean, they were kind of the storm front of the movie, really.
The main draw, yeah. Of course.
Yeah. So yeah,
absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah, thought that was pretty neat. But yes, of course, our characters, split up, and then in the climax of the movie they meet. Kelly's got his son, and Paul's trying to get into the subway, and they're trying to get everybody to safety because, I mean, all hell's breaking loose. The mayor's pissed off because he's like, "What's going on? This shit. I spent all this money, and this thing is moving, and I want to know what's going on. I want this train moving now. I can't go to the ceremony with this walking on foot. Like, I have to be on the train. And he's just pissed off.
He actually went up to the conductor and he was like, if you don't get this train moving within the next like 10 minutes, you're out of a job. And
Yeah.
it's like, I actually said to myself, I was like, what do you want him to do? Fucking push the damn thing?
Right, yeah. What the fuck is he gonna do? He can't help it. The power's off. It's not in control. But you could tell he was just he was under pressure. He said something about, oh, this is my election year. I'm gonna lose out, and this and that. So he was under pressure. He wanted to make this thing like a grand thing where it kind of saves his election and whatnot, and it was just not going for him.
Mm-hmm.
It was totally south for him. But I can't remember. Did he end up dying in the movie?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of carnage and death in that subway car, dude. Holy
Well,
shit.
not so much in the subway car that we know of just yet. So you have Paul who goes down to the ceremony, and I love the whole scene where there's like one cop there and he's like trying to stop him, and he grabs the cop's gun and everyone's like freaking out, and then he points the gun at the cop and then shoots beside the cop, kills the rat.
I wrote that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow. I was like, all of a sudden our hero is a crack shot with a fucking gun. Like, who knew this guy was fucking a target shooter? Like, it's amazing. He was able to hit target every time with everything he was shooting at.
Yeah.
Every rat he was shooting at anyway. And shooting behind the cop to kill the rat, like, come on. Convenient enough, really. But it works.
Pretty good shot.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
He could have been a target shooter or something like that. Who knows?
A novelist.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah, I wrote that down too. I was like, oh, all of a sudden this guy's a crack fucking shot. Wow. That. But
yeah.
The setup and payoff I was talking about was they set up his son is a big train enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
Loves trains and this and that. So when they get into the train at the end of the movie, Paul can't get the train moving, and his son's like, you got to turn the air brakes off. You got to turn the brakes off.
Yeah.
So it paid off. This kid knows what he's talking about. He's well aware how things operate.
Yeah, he turns it off, and then the train starts going again. Well, before then, they actually find the nest.
Yeah.
Oh, which conveniently, there's like barrels of gasoline, I'm guessing. So watching this movie over the weekend, okay, and watching that scene where they're using this blowtorch around these barrels of liquid. First things first, I'm into industrial work, and that's a big no-no. Like you don't want to have flames near barrels and stuff like that. And I know I'm kind of going off subject here, but I was actually at work today.
Well,
I was at work today, and I saw like there's a guy with an outside company that comes in and collects like certain barrels from around the shop of like waste and stuff. And he literally grabbed a barrel and was walking past this guy that was like using a cutting torch, and literally stopped to take a breath for a minute. And there's just like flames shooting all over this all over this barrel, and I'm just cringing. I'm like, oh my god, we're gonna blow up.
Yeah, this place can go up in any minute.
You couldn't seriously just walk like 5 feet that way, get away from all that open flame. I was like, oh my god, I just seen this unfold in a film.
Yeah, saw my flash before my eyes. No, dude, that's dangerous, man. Like I don't know how a scenario like that plays out. Mm-hmm. Like you know what you have there, and you know what you're around. How the fuck do you get in that position where you be so negligent? I just don't understand it. But that's crazy, man. Mm-hmm. I would have fucking bolted. I don't care. I would have dropped whatever I had. I'm like, nope, I'm out. Fuck that. I'm not getting blown up in this place. It's not happening.
Well, they got out in the nick of time, but I mean that was pretty cool. They just took out the whole nest like that.
Yeah.
And these rats were like they locked themselves up in that little cage. I was like, well, that's the end of that. Jeez, that was brutal. Then and then to light the torch and just walk your way out. Yeah. I thought it was pretty neat like sequence, because like the rats, like they didn't want to be around the flame, but at the same time, as they're walking out of that hallway or whatever, the rats were like following slowly. Like eventually that flame's gonna go out. I was honestly waiting for one of the rats just to blow, blow the flame out or something. That would have been a comical moment.
Yes, it would have.
But yeah, they ended up dumping the barrels, catching everything on fire, blowing everything up. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I loved it, man. And then it just ends. The movie just ends. Kind of just ends
Well,
abruptly.
they take the train back to the train finally makes it to the party, which, by the way, a madman just ran through there, tackled a cop,
And grabbed a
grabbed
gun.
a gun, shot it, and everyone's still going on partying like nothing ever happened. It's like-
Fucking crazy.
But yeah, so as they pull up, and pretty much it was her boss, right? That locked himself in the train. Which, by the way, I mean, he got what had what what was coming to him.
Yeah.
Because yeah, they almost left it off to where there could be a sequel technically there.
Yeah, you see the killer rat and then the freeze frame. That was pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Always dig that. Like an old school ending like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they could have done something else with that.
But yeah, I mean, that guy got his demise quite well because he ended up locking himself in there. Didn't even let that girl in, just left her out there to die.
Yeah. You get what you had coming to you.
Yeah. And then, of course, all the rich people at the little party or whatever, train rolls up and they see basically this guy just mauled to death.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Great stuff, dude. Great stuff. I tell you, man, they put all their eggs in one basket with this movie, and it works on all levels. I enjoy the shit out of it. I actually, this is the second time I watched it this year. I just watched it like a couple of months ago, so I popped it back in. So when you talked about we need to do Deadly Eyes, I'm like, fuck yeah, we need to do Deadly Eyes. Let's do it. I'm completely down for it. I have so much fun with this movie.
Well, I mean, as soon as you talk about doing a killer theme, killer animal theme month, instantly your mind goes to like, oh, gotta do Jaws, like you said. But then like we started talking about like some rare stuff like Shakma, and then of course this one.
Yeah.
This is a major one I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because I've had so much fun with this film.
Me too, man. That's the fun thing about it. Is you talk about discussing this movie. It's like we're laughing, we're cutting up. I mean, there's funny stuff that happens that we bring up, and we're like, wait a minute, how'd this happen? How'd that happen? Or not as far as negative, but just how in society, how are these scenarios allowed to play out like this?
Yeah. Only in movies can you take a child away from a father,
or say, hey, this 1-year-old's going to be fine in this house. No big deal. Let's just go. We'll come back. No, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
You can't, and then you can't have this lady's boss say, "Hey, you're going to get your pretty ass nailed to the wall." I'm like, you can't do that.
Dialogue that can only be said in the 80s.
Yeah, it's so of its time. It's so of its time, dude. It's amazing. But it's a fun movie, dude. I don't know if you wanted to do our ratings, but
yeah, we can.
Covered all our bases on it. I mean, we talked a lot about it. A lot of some trivia stuff. The structure. What I think this film does best is relishes on the gore, or keep saying gore. I'm used to saying relishes on the carnage and the violence, which is something that if you have a killer rat movie, that's something you definitely should do. You should take advantage of the fact that you have a killer rat movie and have rats kill a lot, and that's what they end up doing.
Yeah,
they kill a lot of people.
I agree.
The bitches.
I like how they took the basic concept of rat, and they went, okay, these rats. So rats are known to be scavengers.
Right.
And even like they won't go after something alive. Mm-hmm. They will eat what's laying there dead because out of convenience, I think, But in this case, they're mutated.
Mm-hmm.
They're at a higher food chain.
Yeah.
And why not go after something alive and something bigger than you?
It makes total sense because, like you said, they're mutated. It changes their whole, their their natural selection. I mean, they alternate because, well, not alternate. They kind of evolve in a way. I mean, as far as what they go after, they're not necessarily scavengers per se. Now they're predators and they attack. And I thought that was pretty neat, and it makes sense too because if we're talking about it when you brought it up, I mean that they're mutated. It makes total
Hmm.
sense because it's gonna mess with their
I was honestly, given the background of the director, I was honestly waiting for one of them to start learning kung fu and teaching turtles kung fu.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh my God, that's awesome. That's so good. I love that. That's so brilliant.
Where's Shredder, man? Where's Shredder?
That was fucking awesome. Oh yeah, I love that. Master Splinter.
Oh yeah, that's it. Splinter. Yeah, Splinter. I say Shredder.
Leader.
Shredder was one of the bad guys, wasn't
Yeah, Shredder was back.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right. Where was Shredder? He could have fought the rats, man.
he? Could have.
He's got an alpha Splinter.
So we know at least one of them went away or got away.
Yes, yeah. One of them was he got out of there,
made its way to Manhattan.
made his way to New York, and was training these mutated turtles in the ways of kung fu,
Yeah.
of karate. Yeah,
I came from Toronto.
yeah. He made a stop because he came from Japan. He made a stop in Toronto before he came to.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah,
That's where the corn must have came from.
exactly. Yeah, he hopped on the wrong boat.
That's it.
That was it.
We nailed it. We got it.
So good, man. So much fun.
Uh,
Like I said, I've watched this movie twice in the last couple months, so I have fun with it.
Yeah.
It's not like it was a chore or what. No, I'm just ready to pop it on and watch it again. It's fun.
this
It's just
is yeah.
another thing
this-
about it is the runtime's not overly long too. It's pretty quick. It's in and out. Like it gets to what it needs to get to, and then it's over with.
Well, it's never dull. There's no dull moment in it.
Dull moments. Yeah, it
No.
kind of even the duller stuff that you would think would be the duller stuff, like the love triangle and stuff, is interesting because the characters are interesting. They're unique. They're
It
different.
really is. Yeah.
Yeah. So even what's designed to be the slower kind of stuff, especially since it's more in the the middle of the film,
Mhm.
when that's when most movies kind of like start to kind of slog a little bit. But no, I mean, it's just fun watching this man reject the advances of this beautiful woman, and then have another very very attractive older woman, come on to him. It's just like he's navigating this as classy as he can. I mean,
Mhm.
you really can't fault him. I mean, I couldn't have been able to do that, but it's just me. I'm just I'm just in awe of his willpower.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just fun. It's cool watching these characters interact, and we've been on a good roll with movies with good characters and fun characters and interesting characters.
Yeah.
Not dull and boring and same and cliched. And no, they're different. I mean, their traits are different, so than what you would typically see in movies like this. But yeah, I enjoy the hell out of it, man. I gave it a 4-star out of 5. I would love to give it a 5-star, but like I said, it's not a perfect film. It's not, but it is so much damn fun.
It is.
Relish in that. I relish in the fun and the absurdity of killer rats attacking and mauling a city, and that's what you have here, with a little bit of love triangle mixed in as a subplot. But it goes into a territory where, okay, that was pretty fun, and that setup paid off
Mhm.
in dividends because that kid's reaction to seeing that beautiful woman in his dad's bed was gold. I'm sorry, it was so good, man, so natural. Like, it did not look. I'm with you, man. I'm wondering if they even told him that she was going to be there, because he
Yeah.
looked genuinely surprised that she was there.
his eyes got so fucking big. Like he was like, yeah. I was waiting on him to high five his dad. Like,
Right.
all right, pops, score.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I loved everything about this film. Even the concept is just fun. It really is.
It's simple, but it's
Yeah.
fun.
And like you said, it does give off this creature feature type 1950s creature vibe. It does. So I
With the-
like that. One of the things that we kind of hit on, but we didn't really say, is character development. There's a lot of character development in this film.
yeah.
I wouldn't say from really the only one is really just Trudy's character, I think. And I'm a sucker for character development, and it goes to show that she wants somebody a little more mature and stuff, and in a way his maturity kind of rubbed off on her, and I
Yeah.
guess it was kind of it was- I said it before where it was kind of almost like really fucked up that she just like strung what was his name, Mark, I think,
Yeah.
kind of along,
Yeah.
and then next thing you know she was with him again. But I think dealing with Paul kind of made her appreciate what she already had.
I agree,
And
man.
so
agree.
therefore character development in that aspect was pretty big in this movie, actually.
Yeah.
So-
And I mean, the thing, it worked on her maturity because when it didn't work out, and that would hit on your pride and your, how you view yourself as a young, very, very attractive woman, to get rejected like that, it would hit on your pride and you would take that personal. But no, even still, she took the she took being let down with like a lot of grace and a lot of sophistication, and it's almost like his maturity did rub off on her in a way, to where she, like, completely like, okay, I tried it, I gave it a shot. Even she told her friends, she's like, I gave it a shot, it didn't work out. I learned from it, so I'm ready to give her. I can't remember the dude's name in the movie,
I'm
but
thinking it was Mark.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Mark.
And then just by chance, he was going to be at that theater because she was so her friend was waiting on his friend to go on a
Yeah.
date, and said, hey, you can tag along if you want to, you can be the third wheel if you want. So it just so happens to be very convenient where she comes in and then her ex-boyfriend's there, so like,
Yeah.
it's pretty funny, and then it all plays out the way it does in glory. So,
But yeah.
but yeah, character
yeah.
development is strong in this, absolutely.
Yeah, the like I said, the only thing that I didn't really care for was some of the I guess you would say more nighttime shots, like the shot in the park and stuff like that. With the snow, I would have liked to see a little more lighting in that.
That's another thing I loved about the movie is snow. You got the snow.
Yeah.
I love dig the hell out of it. I love snow.
It was everywhere.
Yep. So it felt like Canada.
It definitely set a tone for the film. It was very cold and dark, but there again, like I said, with the lighting, I wish it was a little more lighter in certain shots. I know you can't really do that in like subway tunnels and sewers and stuff like that. But yeah, just overall, I gave it a 4-star because I love this film and had a lot of fun with it and had a lot of fun critiquing it and stuff. So
Yeah, and like I told you, man, I honestly, this is one of my favorite killer rat films of all time. I put it up there on that pedestal.
yeah,
I mean, I
think
love.
I think another.
Unknown Origin, that's another one. I know we were talking about a little bit pregame, but Of Unknown Origin is another killer rat movie I love dearly. This one, but I just think this one's fun. It relishes on the carnage and the violence, and that's what you should have in a killer rat movie. You shouldn't have a killer rat movie that's tame unless you have phenomenal acting, which Of Unknown Origin, like I said, Peter Weller is fantastic in that movie. His slow, just obsession with this rat and trying to find it and kill it and get it out of his plush, beautiful apartment. Like you're going along for the ride with this character. But to me, this is more of a popcorn flick. This is one I can pop in and have a fun time with all the time. I know I'm like, if I want to watch something fun, gonna find this and pop it in. So
Yeah,
I dig it. I love it.
definitely. It was a good time.
Yeah. Glad we talked about doing this one first.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Good way to set off the animal attack theme we got going on here for the next couple months. It's a good
Yes.
way to start off.
I did watch another film after this one. I guess I'll do like a little honorable mention, and maybe I can get a reaction from you too. So I decided to hop on Tubi and just see what was out there. And of course, me loving shitty shark movies, I was like, Killer Animal Month, why not have some fun with the really bad shark films? I watched Avalanche Shark.
Ooh.
My God, this was terrible.
Oh God.
Yeah, I didn't even write down what I think I rated it like a 2 on Letterboxd.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
It
I
was,
didn't care for it.
I know it's got to be a recent film, but has it come out like the last year? A little bit older than that.
Maybe 2018, I think.
It's
I don't remember. I'll have to go back and look.
sci-fi original, like really. Okay.
It was rough. It was a rough watch. Honestly, it was like Out Cold meets maybe Sand Sharks. It's the best way to describe it.
It's amazing how they'll take anything and make it a killer shark movie now. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
And these were like spirits of sharks
yeah.
that were like swimming through snow, but they
think
weren't even like they were like ghost sharks. I don't know. It was weird.
that's weird. I think because of how successful Sharknado is and that full franchise, it's completely changed the game with shark movies. Like it's all hokey for hoky's sake. And they realize like Jaws is the greatest. You're never going to top Jaws. I don't care what the hell. There's nothing that's going to compare to Jaws. So it's like, why even try? Like, just make it as hokey and dumb as possible. Why not? People are going to buy it. People are going to watch it. Like, obviously, people are watching the Sharknado movies. It's a hokey, crazy, insane premise, and people watch it. So why not?
I've got all 6 of them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's so much fun though because it's so absurd. Like sharks in a tornado. That is absurd to me. Like that is, but that's why you watch it because it's absurd. You got to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm that's what I'm saying, dude. They don't make them like serious and they're more hokey now. The premise. I mean, they have a movie called The Shark Exorcist, dude. I mean, come on. I mean, that's what we're doing.
Shark of the Corn.
Shark of the Corn. Like,
what was it? Shark Kansas Women's Prison? Or something like that? Yeah, Women's Prison Massacre or something. Yeah, it's something off the wall like that. I was going to watch that one.
I need to give that movie to you, man. It needs to be in your collection. Like
you have that?
Yes, I do. I need to give it to you. That's something that is destined for your collection. I know how you are with these shark movies.
I've got like 40 crappy shark films, so.
Well, you're about to have 41 because I'm going to give that one to you.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. So there's a pretty good chance we're going to cover a shark movie. Yeah. So.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. So just be on the lookout, listeners. I mean, it's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, are you ready to land it?
Hell yeah, dude. Let's do it.
All right, folks. Well, you've been listening to the Midnight Monster Corner podcast, and we hope we didn't spoil Deadly Eyes for you. If you haven't seen it, I hope you stopped it and watched it before this review because it is a fun watch. But definitely go check it out. I don't believe I couldn't find it on Tubi. I don't know if it's anywhere else really.
I was going to ask because I know me and you have the Screen Factory Blu-rays. I don't know if you can watch it on any streaming services or not, but
yeah,
if you can seek it out, find it. Definitely check it out if you want a fun killer rat movie. This is as fun as it gets right here.
Yeah, and it's just like we said before, you just sit down and have a good time with it because overall that's what it is. It's a really good time.
Good time.
Yeah. But yeah, if you like this episode or like all of our other ones, make sure you let your friends know who are horror fans. We would really love some new views, and guys, make sure that you leave some comments down below, and check us out on our platforms. We are constantly putting out new content and stuff throughout the Facebook group. It seems to be where we socialize more with our community. So be sure to check us out there. But yeah, with that, Tony, you got anything?
No, man. Oh, that was perfect. Drop a comment. What's your favorite killer rat film if you have one?
Or favorite killer animal film, really, for that matter.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
killer rats. Let us know what you guys like. There's a couple out there. There's couple good ones out there.
Yeah, if you do drop comments on that, it'll give us an idea. We're brainstorming kind of what we're wanting to check out for this the next couple of months. So, dropping some comments like that will really kind of stir us in a direction to possibly check out and do a discussion on a couple of these films. But yeah, we're looking forward to these next couple months, dude. It's gonna be a good time. Been talking about it a lot and just brainstorming stuff on what we can do reviews on. It's really, really fun, dude. It's a good way to kind of kick off like this 2 month extravaganza leading up into Halloween, when we're probably going to do a lot of Halloween themed horror films. So kind of like a change of pace, different kind of setup and everything like that. So yeah, if you got any that you guys really, really enjoy or anything like that, drop them down in the comments and we'll check them out.
Definitely, guys. Definitely. But with that, later, guys.
Later.